So at this present time in 2020, what are the key roles do you see for CEOs and CFOs to protect this asset, which is the data? Well, because right now many of the CIOs has a discussion with CEOs and CFOs about the understanding of this one. So what will be your advice for the CEOs and CFOs? Hello viewers, good afternoon. I'm sure that it's been a stunning afternoon for you, all of you today. So today we have something very exciting to talk about because we are all living in the digital era and there is a lot of incident happening in business, corporates, and also personal life as well too. Because right now we breathe and live by creating a lot of digital data. So that's what also bringing us to a situation where we have a era where the cybersecurity becomes one of the major problem. You are working for a business, you are a business leader, or you're a CEO, or you're thinking about you're an investor. For you, one of the biggest concern right now, the cybersecurity in this time. So, and congratulations, because this is the right episode. You find out for Ask John show, because today we have a special guest where we're going to talk about the information security, for how you can improve the information security for your business and for your company. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all viewers, I would like to introduce you to today's guest, which is Mr. Alex Soy. He has been a phenomenon in his careers. He have done tons of works in transformations, and he is actually one of the first generation CIO at Singapore. Currently, right now, he is a professor of NUS, and also been a multiple board involved, including PMIs and also cloud security forum. Besides that, he was also a managing director of Accenture as well too. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad to have Alex back to our show. Hi, Alex. How are you doing today?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, thank you, John. Nice to be here.
I am so excited to have you back in our show. I'm sure that this is going to be a very exciting talk. And I'm so thrilled that it's going to be a lot of cybersecurity talk today we're going to be focused about. So when you was a CIO, let's say about 20 years back and now, how do you see about cybersecurity 20 years back and now? And what is the key difference do you see at this time?
Actually, I was CIO 30 years ago. So even in 30 years ago, when I was CIO, there was concern about information security. Security itself, if you take away cyber, talk about security. Security has always been a concern when people live in communities where there is no trust, you see. Trust is a very big issue. When you have a difference between the have and have-nots. If somebody have more than the other guy, and the other guy say, why should you have more? And greed sets in, and then they want to take something from you. So security has always been a concern in mankind, right? So when IT is become pervasive and makes things easier now for people to access your information. Now, especially today, when we talk about data is the new oil. So data is the asset of every company. So if you lose your data, you lose your asset. Just like it's equal to money. And so that's why it is very important. 30 years ago and even today, there's no change that whatever you have in your organization that's valuable. Later I would discuss why it's so valuable. But let's take it that data is valuable, okay? And later I'll explain why it's valuable. But because you have something valuable, you have to guard, right? Just like your money, you have to guard.
Exactly.
Otherwise, somebody will steal it from you.
Yeah. So, Alex, you actually bring up a very good point. You mentioned about it's money. It's like an asset. Let's talk about an asset. So asset, if you need to protect it. If you don't protect it, it's gonna be go away, or it's will get wasted, or somebody will take it on from you because it's valuable, because there's a value in it. So on that one, I want to go with this one. So at this present time in 2020, what are the key roles do you see for CEOs and CFOs to protect this asset, which is the data? Well, because right now many of the CIOs has a discussion with CEOs and CFOs about the understanding of this one. So what will be your advice for the CEOs and CFOs, their role in this to protecting this new asset?
Yeah, so actually the most important is a mindset. If an asset is so valuable to organization rise and fall when their assets are greater than their liability, they are okay. But if your liability is greater than your asset, then you're in trouble. So, okay, so what's the instances of your data being exposed and you lost your data, so you lost your asset? So whose responsibility is that? Okay, if you lose your money or your wealth in the company, then of course the CEO and the CFO is responsible. So when you talk about the data being your wealth of the organization now, then of course the CEO, CFO, CIO, everyone in the C level, they're all responsible. In fact, in a lot of countries or even in Singapore, we hold the CEO responsible if there are data loss, especially when data pertains to the personal data of your customer. And that's a very, very important thing that the CEO have to bear in mind, that at all costs they have to protect the data. Now, looking at the data, why it's so valuable? In the organization today, when everything is digitalized and computerized, data flows through the organization from one part to another. When the data flow, it's just like our bloodstream, right, in our body. When the blood flows through the body, it carries with it a lot of nutrients to nourish various parts of the body. So data, when it travels across the organization, it carries with it valuable information that enables the company to produce their products and also their services. So therefore, how you use the data makes a lot of difference to a company. And so your competitors are very interested in how you use your data and whether I can get hold of your data. That's why there's a lot of this intelligence, espionage and all that, trying to get your data. And the most valuable data that you have actually are your customer information. If you lose your customer information, you actually lose access to your customer. And your customer is, if you don't keep your customer's information secure, then your customer have no confidence in dealing with you. I don't want to deal with you if you can't keep my data safe and secure. If my data is lost, then maybe the whole world then have access to me, which I don't want to. I only want to deal with the people I trust and not the whole world. All right. So therefore, it is very important to a company that you have to keep your data safe and secure, and its responsibility actually is from the head to the toe of the organization. Seriously, the CEO down to the last man. I think we can talk a lot about this. What is the responsibility of everybody? I think as an introduction, I will say that yes, the CEO, CFO, and the CIO, they have to treat data as if it is a valuable asset. And this mindset must trickle down to the whole organization, because whatever amount, even small amount lost by even the last person in the organization will add up to a lot in the long run.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing those valuable. So guys, for the business leaders, these are the points you look at. I would like to summarize. Number one, it says cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. It's not one-man games. It's a shared responsibility. Number two, value of the data. Really understand the value of the data. Number three, because it's a competitive advantage. Number three is the customer information, because that's what the privacy of the customer. Number four, the trust of the company, because when you get a leakage, you got a big customer trust issue. And the last one is a treat as an asset. So those are the main advices Alex was giving to the business leader like CEOs and CFOs, and then allocate right budget for doing this cybersecurity thing. So with that, I want to move to for the next question, Alex. So you've been in the Cloud Security Alliance in Singapore, and you've been doing some great work over there. So on that one, like last 5 years, there's a lot of cloud adoption happen, and there's a lot of rise of cloud computing. There was a public clouds, and there are also private clouds, and there's some local clouds as well too came along as well. So what's your opinion? What do you think about how safe do you really think to use this cloud for hosting the systems and putting all data into it?
Yeah, it's like all things. I mean, if you want to put your data into a computer system, it does not matter whether it's on premises or whether it's on the cloud. You need to know where you're putting, just like where you put your money, which dubious bank that you put in, whether you can trust or not. It's the same thing. Before you put your data into any computer system, whether it's on-prem or whether it's on cloud, you have to understand. You have to do your homework first. Yeah, whether they have the security measures and all that to keep your data safe, right? So I see very little difference between putting your data into some data center and whether it is into the cloud. Now, we are in a Cloud Security Alliance, where I'm the chairman of the Singapore chapter. We promote the usage of cloud, especially to the small, medium enterprises, the people who cannot afford to have expensive infrastructure of their own. Because, you can also have a very expensive infrastructure, but most small, medium companies cannot afford to have that type of infrastructure. So the next best choice, of course, is to put it into cloud, where someone manages the infrastructure for you. But then a lot of companies then worry that whether the cloud is truly secure or not. Well, the cloud has been in development for many years, and cloud security has always been a major concern of all the cloud security provider. So I can say that the cloud security provider takes it very seriously, and they actually have multiple backups and disaster recovery, business continuity. So rest assured that putting your data into cloud does not mean that you are exposing to a lot more dangers. Okay, cloud security measures are just as much more, if not more, than the on-prem security that you have. In fact, because if you go to some trustworthy cloud security provider, they have more experience with cloud, with cyber security than maybe the average person you can hire to set up your own security in your office.
All right. Thank you, Alex, for sharing these things. So viewers, this is I would like to summarize with this one. According to Alex, it's not about cloud. It's about what is the cloud. It's about finding out what bank you are putting your money. So the same in what provider you're putting your data. It's exactly the same way. So this is the thing is, when you want to use a cloud, number one tips is use a right reputed cloud system. Number two, do your homeworks. There is no excuse over that. Number three is about check the security measurements. It's very important. Number four is about don't just fall in love with someone because it just in cloud, but also you can check with the data center and cloud as well too. And number 5 is about check the expertise of the team who manage the cloud. It's very important. So thank you, Alex, for sharing this thing. I think this has been very valuable for any other IT professional who have been, or business owners or CEOs who have been considering for going to the cloud. So with that one, I want to move to the next question on that one.
Before you move on, please. John, maybe I just want to add a little bit more.
Please.
Because for cloud, there is also a public cloud and also the private cloud, also the hybrid cloud, right? So most of the time, people worry is a public cloud, especially governments. They are afraid of data sovereignty. They want their data to be secure in their own secure server. Yeah, you can arrange for a private cloud using the whole cloud technology, but your data is only available to yourself, to your company. Yes, you can actually request for that, but of course, it's more expensive, a service, a private cloud for yourself, for your company. But if not, then you can go to the public cloud, and rest assured, the public cloud is also very secure because we hold all the cloud service provider to high accountability. The greatest danger about cloud security is when you migrate your data. Your migration is where your data is exposed. So migration have to be very carefully thought about, and you have to be encrypted, and your management of the security key and all that, you have to be very careful and not expose your key, your private key or the public key to the public. Yeah. So that one is the most important. If some hacker get hold of your key, then of course your data is compromised. So bear in mind, if you want to migrate to cloud, please think about the migration, and then after that, think about whether you want a private or public or even a hybrid, a mixture of both. Okay.
Thank you, Alex. I think you just brought up a very valuable point on that one about the migration part. So on this one, I just wanted to I want to bring a little more values for the viewers on this one. So when somebody doing a cloud migration, what are the key things they should focus about? Let's say an IT manager decided to move the DC to the cloud. So what are the number one, number two, number three you would like to suggest them to mention about?
So number one is, of course, you have to check on the cloud service provider, because every cloud service provider have their standards. And you can actually go to Cloud Security Alliance to also check as a third-party check of the accreditation of the cloud service provider. Secondly, you have to prepare. You need to have personnel in your company who is familiar. All right, you cannot trust everything to somebody, so you need somebody who can do the safe migration of your data, and during the migration, have to be carefully encrypted, and the identity access management have to be carefully planned, because that is where your data will be most dangerous, most vulnerable to exposure. All right.
Do you want to add anything? So let's say about when they encrypt, they upload, and about how what is the best way for you suggestion for to managing the key so it doesn't fall in the hand to like hackers or unknown person?
Well, I mean, that one is a no-brainer, right? I mean, you just like any password, and today we don't simply allow people to access. Access control is very important. We have a multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication. So you have to make sure, even if you're in a cloud, you cannot say, okay, now we are in a cloud, so we are very safe. We don't need a multi-factor authentication. So that is how you manage the key. Okay, multi-factor authentication, identity of the person who is accessing, whether he has access control. The access control must be very carefully managed so that we only allow authorized person to access the data.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing. So viewers, these are the points about when you go to the cloud migration. According to Alex, these are the key points you should focus. Number one, look at the standards, documents first. What kind of thing the cloud provider was bringing to you. Number two, check with any other associations about cloud so you can double check those credentials. Number three, look at have an in-house expertise. Don't just depend anything on outsourced people. Number four, encrypt the data before you start to onboard the data to your cloud. Number five, manage the migration like a project management in a very step by step, so you can really have a good visibility about this one. And number five, manage the key very carefully. Don't ignore multi-factor authentications or proper key management. Even those goes to cloud, still those are all important because still your data is somewhere and you need to take care of it well. Thank you, Alex. I think those are really good points, and the viewers get some really good value out of it as well too. So so now I want to go a little more about this information security. So nowadays there's a big hype in the industry. Information security now becomes a business, and not just a business, it's a multi-billion-dollar businesses. Recently, there was a company in US trying to go public because they build the solutions who can simply track any vehicle on the street and can find out the driver license information. And the valuation of that solution, they have been saying that 12 to 15 billion US dollar. So it's so much commercial right now, this cybersecurity thing. So how do you see as a CIO or business leader, what is the pros and cons of this so much commercialization of the information security?
Okay, let's talk about this privacy of data. I think that is a major concern of a lot of advanced country. Because advanced country, they talk about personal freedom, and we talk about personal assets. Your data, your information is your asset, personal asset, and you don't want people to be able to track whatever you do. So, but however, from the government point of view, if they have all this information about the people and whatever movement, well, if they use it in a good way, to keep the citizens secure, keep the bad people away, there's always this pro and con argument, right? Because what is too much? What is the information that's too much in the hands of the government, or too little in the hands of the government? If the government has a lot of information, they can do a lot of planning. Especially today, we're talking about smart city planning and all that. So they can actually use the information to keep the country secure, and also for the safety, public safety, vehicle safety, and also people who break laws, and then if you can catch them faster, then of course it is good for the citizen, right? And especially today we're talking about the elderly. Okay, if you have information about the elderly, you have wearable devices for the elderly who are alone, then we can use it to find out whether they are well or not, because when they are alone on themselves, we need caregivers to go and take a look at them all the time, and that's using a lot of resources. But if you can use information to actually to help us to manage the elderly, the sick, and also the security of the public, then of course it's good. But however, it restricts your personal freedom, okay? Because you say, I don't want everybody to know whatever I do. So there's always pros and cons. So if you trust the government to use your information very securely and not that's detrimental to your freedom, then of course it's a good thing.
All right, thank you for Alex for sharing this one. You really you're more believer. You like to see the bright side of this one. Thank you for sharing on that. So I want to move to, like, we've been talking about the business, we've been talking about the corporations, about the security. Now let's talk a little bit about us as a human. We're living in this era of digital data, and we live and breathe and constantly creating new datas. So there is a point there was a two thing. One is privacy, another one is secrecy. So how do we really can protect and keep ourselves safe in this, when we are using in this era? What will be your suggestions for the community?
So the older generation, like me, my peers and all that, we don't believe in putting too much information out there. So the more information, the more photos you upload into social media, the more people know about you. It's okay if you are doing well and you are doing good things.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be caught in compromising situations and all that. And there you are. It's all no. You can't control what people know about you. So it's a scary world, right? That you have to be on guard all the time, because if you have got into an accident, for example, a car accident, you come out and you start shouting and start fighting with the other guy, and then somebody will put it onto a video, and then your boss will take a look at the video and say, okay, that's not the behavior I want. So I think sharing of information in the new, the millennium, the millennials, okay, the young people, yeah, they believe that they should share as much as possible with their friends. Yeah. But bear in mind that you don't want to put information that years later that you want to say, you regret that you have such information available. So, on the other hand, things like LinkedIn, where your professional information is put is for networking, for connection, and for the headhunters to look for you. Right? For example, John found me on the LinkedIn. That's how we became friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So, some information about your professionalism, about your work, I think it's okay to share. But be careful about sharing all the personal information about yourself, your family, and all that. It's up to you. If you want to put everything out in the public, then you say, there's no security. But then how do we balance that? Correct? There is no. If you put the information, you put your money on the table, you are inviting everyone to take a share of it, right? So, just treat security as if it is your own wealth. It's the same, right? If you expose and then you say, how come my information was stolen and used by other people, then I think we have to bear a certain amount of responsibility ourselves.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing. I think you gave a pretty constructive and very fruitful points in this one. So I just wanted to summarize this one. So be conscious, to protect yourself in this digital era. Be conscious when you're putting anything. Put what you need to do, and number 3 is put what is relevant to you too as well. Number 4 is share professional information, and the last thing is about the information you are putting in internet. You need to be ready that you are ready to donate that information. People are going to take it and use it for other purposes. So use that information which can be used in good purpose only. Do not share the information which cannot be used in a negative purpose. So that was the key takeaway I got it from your this sharing. Thank you, Alex. It's been great. So I just wanted to move to the next point of this one. So I want to talk about this. I think the privacy and secrecy, it's a very confusing term for many people. Many people think that secrecy and privacy is almost the same thing. So I just wanted to come into this one. So how do you explain the difference between the privacy and secrecy in business?
Okay. Well, in personal data, we're talking about privacy. And if you are talking about data for the purpose of competitiveness in the company, I will call it secrecy. It's no longer privacy, because when you are doing enterprise business, we are talking about keeping valuable information confidential and secret. I hardly hear a privacy as a term used to describe business data. So when the government come out with the Privacy Personal Data Protection Act in Singapore or some other country, they have the GDPR and all that general data privacy regime, so protection regime. So the law is skewed towards protecting the people, right? The personal data. Yeah. The government does not come out a law to protect the company's data. The company's data, unfortunately, is the responsibility of the organization, the CEO, the CIO, the CFO, and all the whole organization from head to toe. So I can safely say that when all the laws are enacted throughout the world, it is to protect the people, okay, from the organization, from unscrupulous use of personal data. So then how do companies keep your data private? Well, I say there's no such thing as a data privacy for organization. You have to keep confidential information confidential, secret information secret, because whatever is leaked, your information that is leaked, that is secret to you, well, you have lost your competitive edge because of that. So all organizations, therefore, have to take great responsibility in data governance, privacy, IT security, privacy, and also the standards in the organization. In fact, that is the reason why security is such a multi-million-dollar business, as you mentioned just now, because organization suddenly say, I have so much information to protect. Who can protect for me? And so there are lots of organizations out there who are able to come and help, provide consultancy to help you. And so it is a multi-million-dollar business. The more a company suffer a security incident, the more they will now believe in protecting their information, and therefore the more there are professionals coming up to help companies to secure their information. So that's why security is such a big business. So thanks to all the people who are hacking the various companies and stealing data, the more companies get hacked, the more they realize, oh, it's very painful. Right? Yeah, I need to protect. In the past, when a lot of companies say security, it's a bottomless pit. How much is secure? How much security should we invest in? Well, then they say, okay, CIO, why don't you also take care of security? And that's why in the past, the CIO is also the CISO. But lately, because of all the big incidents, the CISO now, even on the same level as the CIO now in a lot of organizations. Okay, because security is now a direct responsibility of the CEO. Okay, so why not take the CISO out and report to the CEO? So that's why you see the whole world has changed because of all the security incidents, and causing cybersecurity is such a valuable profession and also a valuable business. In fact, the whole world is short of very good cybersecurity personnel. And that's why no matter how much we train, how fast we churn out cybersecurity personnel, is never enough. And maybe it's a good news for our listeners. Yeah. There is a future for you in cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's a few years back in technology and IT, one of the highest paying jobs was cybersecurity. So if you've been in university, maybe you can roll your sleeves for thinking about being a cybersecurity expert, because that can give you a really one of the top paying jobs in IT. Probably not anymore, but one of the top paying jobs for sure. Thank you, Alex, for sharing your perspective. Those are really valuable on this one. So viewers, we have Alex with us. So go ahead and keep commenting your questions in the thread, and we'll be start answering your questions. So we're gonna go one more question from my side, and then it's gonna be all yours. So do not waste your time. Go ahead and keep commenting, and we will try our best to cover as much as possible. Today we got a 1 hour, so probably we can cover 5 to 10 questions. So go ahead, write down your questions, write down your names, and write down your cities, and we are looking forward to answer your questions. So with that, I would like to come back to this one, Alex. So I just wanted to come back to on this point is about it's about a little bit about the cloud again, because I know you've been doing some great work in the cloud in Singapore. So my last question on this is this one. There is some CIOs who are anti-cloud, and don't want to migrate to the cloud. They want to stick to on-premise solution, and they insist investing on on-premise solutions. So what are your advice from them?
Okay, there's nothing wrong with not trusting cloud and trusting yourself. There's nothing wrong. That's if you have a deep pocket, right? Yeah, if money is no object to your organization and you can spend and you can hire the best cybersecurity personnel, by all means. I mean, of course, if you have your own cybersecurity setup and all that, I think, yeah, I would say it is very secure because you have the best personnel, you have the best system. But not everybody can afford to spend on cybersecurity that way. So unfortunately, right, in the past, the CEOs don't even believe that they should spend any money on information security. So if you are the CISO or the CIO and then you go and tell the boss, don't worry, boss, yeah, don't trust the cloud. Trust me, I will set up for you. And they say, here's my bill. Probably, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you think you are smart and you go against the whole world, if the people trust the cloud and then you say, I don't trust, yeah, then something is wrong with you. I mean, why is it that a big, huge organization can use cloud and you think it's not good enough for you? Actually, a lot of us are using cloud without even knowing it. For example, when we use Zoom, we are using cloud. We use Office 365. It's on the cloud, right? So, okay, those are never mind. Those applications I can live with, you know. So, I mean, so we have to be realistic, all right? The cloud is here to stay, okay? Having your own huge data center and it's not a solution. Okay, you may have very secure information on-prem. Yes, you have a hybrid solution. That means very, very confidential, very secret. You don't want to put on the cloud. By all means, have it on your own data center. But however, the general data for working purposes, I'm sure the cloud will be secure enough for you.
Thank you for sharing. So this is the key takeaway. There's nothing wrong to use on-premise or nothing wrong with the cloud. So according to Alex, the point is about your cost. If you are open for a good investment in CapEx, so you can stay on-premise, but if you think that you don't want to invest that amount of money on CapEx, but you want to invest more on OpEx model for maintaining your application and security, then for you it's more suitable is to go into cloud. So that was the key takeaway from Alex, this one. Thank you very much for Alex.